petition and communications. We go to A, speakers. Our first speaker will be Mr. Harold L. Doucet, Sr., regarding duties and responsibilities of council members. Mr. Doucet, would you state your name and address? And you have 5 minutes, sir.
Okay. Good morning. Okay, I'm here this morning to speak to council in reference to duties and responsibilities as it pertains to travel, one, and also budget. The first, we're talking about travel. There's a travel ordinance for the city. There's parts of it that requires council to give written notifications, and is written so that council members can have the opportunity to travel to conferences whereby there's information or training that is performed that council can attend and get them better prepared to come back to the citizens and serve us and take care of us. Those conferences are normally sponsored by Texas Municipal League. Also, you may go to the National Conference of Cities. I found to be very informational and give information that can help you to be better able to do your job. But as I go through the expense reports of this council, there are some council members just likes to travel. So I understand being a council member, everyone have equal authority. Therefore, it's not up to one council member to tell another council member you can't go. But as a council, as a whole, you can. The majority can. And when you have individuals who take it upon themselves because they sit in that seat that they can do as they choose, it's up to council to police itself. You're the highest authority in our city. We depend on you as citizens to protect our money and ensure that it's being spent as it should and not be the way someone thinks it should be. Therefore, we as citizens would expect council to do as I did, take a look at expense report and compare. And you find out that there are traveling that's being done. Would be better if the person put the money in their car, fill the car up and drive around town and see what they can do here in our city and where they represent. So, some of the recommendations I feel council need to go back and take a look at to see if they can improve it so that this will not become a problem, and that is policing yourself. One of the areas is travel outside of our city limits. When I was on council, it was 50 miles outside of the city limit before you can get reimbursed for mileage if you received a car allowance. When a council member was questioned about traveling less than that, rather than obey the ordinance, the council member got with other council members and they changed it to increase the distance so the person could get the money. Well, that's not acceptable anymore. We don't get streets fixed, you don't have the luxury of running around. You don't police yourself, we're citizens, we're ready to start policing you. Another area you could take a look at when you're talking about travel, written notification. Council member who wish to travel to a conference or a place that is not sanctioned by the council. What's sanctioned by the council? TML, National League of City, Triangle Days. Those are conferences the city will notify council members that they're fitting to take place at a certain time. Do you want to go? All this, I want to go here, it should be written, a written request that states where I want to go, how much it's going to cost taxpayers, and what do I hope to gain that the citizen and the city can benefit from. And it must come before you for approval before any reservations are made. You know, it's like little kids. But you know, sometimes you just have to go back to the drawing board and you have to write it to prevent abuse. Remember, you cannot police one another, but as a majority of this council, you have that authority. And that's what we as citizens expect from you. Not the buddy, to do what's right. Now, we'll monitor this. If it continues, the next time we'll bring you statistics and names, which I think is thoroughly unnecessary. But it has to stop, council. The other point, we want to talk finances. All of you receive what they call a Texas Municipal League handout when you attend the newly elected official conference that every newly elected official in the state of Texas must attend. If you don't know where yours is, just go online, Google Texas Municipal League Handbook, and you will always see a copy of the most current. That is a tool that a newly elected council member can learn a lot about how the city is ran and supposed to run. It will enable you to ensure that our tax dollars are spent properly and that we're following policies and procedures. That we ask of all council members, to include our city manager. We depend on you to manage our money and do right by us. And the budget. The budget is what you plan for. Once you approve it, that's what you're going to do that year. You do not go into your reserves to do something that is not emergency. At the end of last year, you all amended the budget, and I heard the debate. It went back and forward, and everybody kept talking about whether it was an emergency or not. Well, it wasn't an emergency, and it wasn't nothing that you could not foresee. And according to the state of Texas, you cannot amend that budget for that purpose. There's no way around it. So if you don't know, it's in the handbook. If you don't have it, Google it. This staff and council always use Section 9 of our city code and ordinance dealing with emergency. If you read Section 9, you will find out that in Section 9 is very specific about an emergency. And you will find out that it did not meet our code and ordinance. Our code and ordinance goes even more deeper.
Mr. Doucet, are you close to being finishing?
Yes,
you're close.
This is the last.
I'll give you 2 more minutes then.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Our code and ordinance for emergency purpose even limit how much you can do. Only 2.5 of the per centum of the tax levy for that fiscal year. So basically what I'm saying is, we as individuals who understand, former council members, people who can read, we need to start following policy and procedures. Because if you don't, and you're dealing with our money, until our streets get fixed, you all going to start being held accountable. And I think it's only fair. A lot of citizens don't understand. I do. I don't come up here just to hassle you all. I've been in that seat. I know how hard your jobs are. But I also know some don't take it seriously, and some don't like to read and follow the rules. And the last thing I'll say before leaving, I want to read this statement. It won't take but a second. It's from our charter. It says, form of government. It says, municipal government provided by this charter shall be known as the council manager form of government, pursuant to its provision and subject to only the limitation imposed by the state constitution, state laws, and this charter. All powers of the city shall be vested in and exercised by an elective city council, hereinafter referred to as council, which shall enact local legislation, adopt budgets, determine policies, and appoint a city manager who shall mean he will, execute the laws and administer the government of this city. Simply said, council people are not in the doing. You're in the established policies. However, manager should be held to follow these ordinance, codes, and laws. I hope that council take this seriously. Thank you very much for allowing me the time to address you.
Mr. Doucet, really appreciate you coming here with that information and sharing it with the council. I don't have any other lights on, but again, we thank you for coming. Councilman Lewis?
Yes, appreciate it. Appreciate your comments, former Councilman Doucet. In the past, yeah, I heard you mention about council policing itself. In the past, if you go back and look at all of the amendments to the travel policy was put there by council. It was initiated out of District 1 or District 4 or District 5. Never has there been an amendment from any other district. All amendments in the policing of the travel policy has come out of District 1, 5, or 4. And about travel, we notification, we used to announce it at the council publicly, and basically it was council would approve it. But too many council members' houses got broken into, so that's why we started going with the written notice of travel. So that's where we are now, and I would like to see that portion stay that way because of the problems in the past. Actually, people will monitor the system, the airways, and they take advantage of council members or anybody traveling. So that part I would like to see. Yes, announce it. I mean, deal with the written policy, notify the council and the manager of all travel. That's what we need to do it that way for security reasons. Okay, and the budget, I don't disagree with you on the budget. The budget is basically a plan that we have to work by, and anytime you have a plan, it's basically a wish list. If we can, if we need to, I don't need any comments. If we need to make amendments, we need to look at reallocating funds that's already approved. Reallocate these funds. That's what we need to do, as opposed to going into the budget and amending the budget. And anybody or any government body working without a plan, for as I'm concerned, that is malpractice. If you're working without a plan, that is malpractice. That's all I have to say about it. Appreciate your comments.
I'd just like to say something in reference to the statement I made. As long as there's a way that council can approve the travel, that is the main gist of what I said. And if that's could be done and council approve it, that'd be accepted. The way that Mr. Councilman Lewis described it will not provide policing and ensure that council has a say. It will only be the system in which you have now, unless there's a way that council has a say before you start going to make reservations.
Okay. I don't see any more lights.